real estate agent? Are you looking to acquire clients consistently so you can grow your business and your income to live a great lifestyle? This is Dave Finale and the RE Skill Builder Podcast.
Okay, so here we are. This is take two. We tried to start it. We had technical difficulties, and here we are. This is Real Estate Talk man, I should start again. Real Estate Talk TGIF episode 155. Greg, are you there? You look like you're frozen. And you're frozen again. Okay, so we're going to give this another shot. This is Real Estate Talk TGIF episode 155, 152 weeks in a row. And Greg, can you hear me? Can you hear me, Greg? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay. Well, we have had technical difficulties before. We have had issues like this before. So this might be the look at Greg and listen to Dave show. I'm not sure what it's going to be, but here we are. So you know what? I'm going to wait for Greg to come back in. We had to go out of this for a while and come back. So, I want to talk. I started talking this morning about my video right before here. We're doing 90 days of value, 90 days of video in a row, which means weekends. And for some of you might think that that's not a big deal. For a lot of us, because we do it all the time. You see me on video all the time. And the interesting thing is that you may see me, but you don't really see me on weekends, right? You don't see me on weekends. So I've been doing that on weekends too. And the whole idea is to give value when we do it, not just to listen not just to do video to hear ourselves talk, but it's to give out value. My objective in my entire career has been to work with value as much as possible and to help people as much as possible. Hold on one second.
We were doing the intro and then it completely just kicked me off. I don't know what the fuck is going on.
All right.
Never happened before.
So Greg is having some technical difficulties out on his way on the West Coast. But what I'm talking about a value is giving as much value as possible. And a lot of people, I've talked to a lot of people this week about listing presentations. So when we talk about listing presentations, we're worried about what we sound like. We're worried about this one thing. And whenever you worry about one thing, two things, three things, maybe you're not sure that you got the right comps, because that does happen, right? Or maybe you couldn't find comps. Value has a lot to do with confidence. So how do you get the confidence? The confidence, you know what? It's not as difficult as it might seem, right? Practice makes perfect. Perfect sense no matter what, right? Being prepared. As my buddy Greg Harrelson down in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, Century 21, the Harrelson Group. If you're in that area, you check out Greg. But he says, most agents are not successful in their prospecting, not successful in their presentations because they're not prepared, right? They're not prepared. What does that mean? That means they're not practiced, right? They don't know their lines. Let's look at it this way. If you turned on, if they published a video, a movie, a sitcom, a TV show, and the actor fumbles his lines as they're doing it, they're not going to show that as a finished product. You're unique. We are unique. We know how to do that. It's like a night at the Improv. Sometimes when we're not practiced, when we go to a listing presentation, when we're on the phone with a for sale by owner and expired, it's like a night at the Improv for a lot of us because we have our script in front of us, but you got to improvise. And if you're not improvising, if you don't know your script, you're going to fail. If you know your script and you're improvising, you got a really good chance of being successful. But being prepared not only means knowing your script, it also means a lot of other things. It means It means committing to doing what you've got to do for your client. It means knowing the area, knowing the market for the script you're talking about. If we're talking about presentation for a buyer, where they want to move to, knowing that market. If we're talking about a listing, that market. Maybe you don't live in that market. Well, you know what? It's not as important to be in that market as it used to be. Because let's face it, bricks and mortar doesn't matter as much anymore. If you've got, I've got to have an office in this town. I've got to be in an office in this town. That's a lot of crap. I'll be honest with you. It's a lot of crap. It doesn't matter. I would ask the seller really simple question. If they say they want you to have an office in the town and they want to work with somebody in the town, simple question is, well, okay, I get that. Where do you want your buyer to come from? Are they going to come from the town? The answer is no, right? Now, is that synonymous? Is that parallel with the reasoning that they want an agent in the town? They just want you to know your market, know the town. You don't have to live there, breathe there, work there to know the town, to know the market. But it is important to know it. And the more studying you do before a presentation, the more studying you do before you make phone calls, the more work you do putting stuff together is going to allow you to do a lot better. The more qualified you are, and the more you qualify the seller, the buyer, etc. Qualifying the buyer is having a great place, a great idea of where they want to move to. Qualifying the buyer is understanding what they can afford. Qualifying the buyer is knowing what their negotiating strategies are going to be. Part of qualifying the buyer is knowing, are you going to be working together and being on the same page, right? How is that all going to work for you? The seller, are they ready to list? Will they list with you, right? Where will they list with you, right? So the important part is to understand is, what are their objections prior to going to that appointment? This is what qualification of the seller means. You're going to ask questions of them. Now, I'm going to tell you that 95% of the agents do not qualify the seller, right? So a seller needs to be qualified. Now, they're qualified because they got a house and they're going to sell it. That's not what I mean. What I mean is you need to qualify, which means to understand what their issues are. If you know their issues prior to the actual pricing conversation, you will know that, hold on one second.
I just downloaded Chrome, trying to get into Chrome. I'm just running into roadblocks everywhere, man. I just don't know. I'm so for wasting 33 minutes of your life.
So Greg is still trying to get on, and we're going to stay here. We're going to talk about this because we're going to talk about the qualification. So we're doing a pre-qualification call before our presentation, before we get in to see that seller. So we've made the call to the FSBO, the expired circle, whatever it is. We got an appointment. Before that appointment, we need to qualify that seller. Are they ready to list? Are they going to be reasonable with the price? Now, you're not going to ask the questions that way. There's a separate script you're going to use and a separate manner in which to do it. It's one of the things I train and upskill and coach on, right? So we're going to ask a lot of questions. We're going to talk a lot. We're going to reconfirm a bunch of things, and then we're going to tell them we're ready to go. Here's one interesting point, though. A lot of people think that this call is a confirmation of the appointment call. Here's one thing that you don't know. Never confirm an appointment with a seller. Don't confirm it. Don't use those words. You're going to call them and say, look, before I come and see you, I got a couple of questions. Before I come and see you tomorrow at 3:00, I got a couple of questions I want to talk to you about, right? So as we go forward with that, you're going to know all of the ins and outs of what's going on with that seller. So when we're talking about confidence, you've got to remember there's the 4 C's formula. And I'm going to go through this really quickly. One is commitment, courage, capacity, and confidence. You make a commitment, which has got to be deep in here. And then it's going to give you the courage to do the work you've got to do. Picking up the phone, for instance. And if you don't want to do that, you got to stop right there and you got to recommit. But when you commit and get the courage, you go over to the capacity, or you can now have the capability of doing it, right? And then you get confidence. So we're gonna go into with my friend, my new friend, Greg McDaniel. Greg, can you hear us?
Dave, I can hear you. Thank you so much. Good Lord is allowing us to come together because, my goodness, it has been a technical battle today. But I'm so happy to finally be here with you.
Well, great. Well, we're gonna put our banner back up, and I was filling some time with some confidence talk and expectations and buyer and seller qualification stuff, and it's just all really good, and everybody always needs to hear it. So here we are, Greg McDaniel. You've been around a few years. This is I've got to start it the same way I always started, Greg. It's episode 155, Real Estate Talk, TGIF. Do you know what TGIF stands for?
Thank God it's Friday.
You're close. You're really close. It's thank God it's finale, right? F, finale, Dave, finale. So that's what it means. Thank God it's finale, right? So I want to get right into to you. I mean, I've been following you for years, and a lot of times we find out that people are watching us, and we don't even know it until we actually meet them, you know? And like I said, I've been following you for years. I've watched your stuff. I actually use some of your scripts. I give your scripts out to my people. It's you know, it's great. I mean, the stuff that you do, the podcast that you have. Tell me about your journey. Tell me how you started and got into this business. I know it has a lot to do with family. So talk to me about that.
Sure, yeah, not a problem. I went to college down in LA for about 2 years. I failed out phenomenally. And I got a PhD, a doctorate, and another degree in drinking drug girls. And I moved up here back to the Bay Area from LA. Started working in a warehouse. That was the best job on earth because all my friends worked there. But it's grunt, and being very grunt job for me. So I worked there for about 6 months. My dad talked me into joining him in real estate. I took him real estate test multiple times, didn't pass, finally did. And then since I was such a screwball, I had the colored hair, the earrings, the tattoos. I mean, you name it. And that was me in college. And so my dad said, well, Greg, since you're going to be in real estate, you have to learn the basics. And so for the first year of my career, I was salaried and I was talking. I was there probably 8 to 10 a day. The man wrote written notes, and then I would do database follow up, and I did this 6, 7 days a week. Then I finally got to a point where I was, I had literally, I remember the day. I can take you to the street where it was kind of a rainy day, and my shoes filled up with water. And I looked down, didn't understand why. Because I'd walked so much, I'd worn holes in it. I called my dad, I handed the and I'm like, Dad, this is BS. I'm done with this. And he laughed at me and goes, okay, come on in, let's get you to work. And then from there, I sat down and I just hit the grindstone. And I just, like I said, I was huffing and puffing. I was grinding out 500 to 750 phone calls per day, along with follow-ups, along with me. Per day. I've done almost 500. I've done over 500,000 personal outbound cold calls, about 300,000 to 400,000 door knocks, because that's all I did for a number of years. I would set aside 1 to 3 hours a day to do that. And then with that database, I've evolved into kind of where I am now, learning the scripts. My father took me to a lot of Howard Britton seminars, trainer seminars, and we would sit there in the front row. He always tell me, why do we sit in the front row? He says, because leaders sit in the front row. The people who are going to be following you sit in the back row and play on their phones. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I went there to these conferences. A lot of people go to conferences to drink and have sex with strangers and do weird stuff. Dude, we were up early, to bed early, taking notes, doing team huddles. This was not playtime. This was work time. And that's what was instilled into me. And so that's kind of what I try to do now with the podcast and with my team and everybody else around me. So short question, long answer. My apologies.
No. Keep going. I mean, it's funny. You talk about conventions and you talk about a lot of things. That's coming. with a little luck coming out of this pandemic thing that we've been in for a little over a year, and people are already talking to me about conventions, right? Someone said to me the other day, "Are you going to go to San Diego with the NAR convention?" And I said, "Probably not. I might speak. I'm not sure. Don't know yet. But if not, I probably won't go." And he goes, "Why?" I said, "Because there's really not as much value there as there used to be. Through the pandemic, there's been such a growth of other outlets for value, right? So I'm probably going to something in July. I got something in the islands in September. And you know what? That's where I'm going to invest my money, invest my time. We see the type of conventions you're talking about here in New Jersey. I call this a convention that they have every year in December. I call it Disneyland for real estate agents. So it's really freaking nuts, right? And half the people that are there don't even go to the convention. So, but I get that. So cold calling, prospecting. So what was the impetus for you to make all those calls? I mean, did you need that many calls to get the business you wanted? Or is it just like you say, today I'm doing 500 calls, how many appointments I get, yada, yada. Did you have a goal every day?
Yeah. So the what my catalyst was the fact that I was flat ass broke and I needed something to do. And this is something that the team afforded me, was a triple line dialer. So I originally started off with my little meat nugget dialing. Because I actually sold Nextel phones, before I got into real estate, and I had to go through literally go through the yellow pages and dial everybody and try to get them to buy my phones. So I wasn't afraid of the phone, but when a triple line dialer that I was using got introduced to me, I was like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? Like, this saves a freaking ton of time. And so then I just jumped into it, with both boots on into the deep end. And I would do 2 rounds of 250 phone calls. So I would do a morning run of 250 phone calls, literally a pot of coffee per run. And then I would, my dad built a spreadsheet for me, a lead gen spreadsheet. So I knew what my value add per minute, per client, per conversation, per hour, everything broken down. What was my median price point? What was my commission potential? How many hours I worked per day? How many days I worked per week? How many weeks I worked per year? And then tracking all the people that would come in through my spreadsheet, I could really see my value add and what I could really spend some time on. And so when I jumped into this, I thought it was stupid. I'm like, this is retarded. Like, why am I doing this? And then I started seeing, and now I'm at about $2,700 an hour. That's my value add when I prospect. When I was just doing it, I was at $1,250. And so it really kind of opened my eyes to why I would keep doing this and really press hard on it. I know that I can do 25 doors an hour, but I can do like almost 200 calls per hour. So you have the door knocking aspect, which is the personal, get to know the neighborhood, get to know the people. Then you have the time use, which is going to be your calls. And you really kind of start understanding how you can do it. Now we've jumped into a lot of geofencing, text messaging, email campaigns, landing pages, and a lot of other things that are really powerful when it comes to utilizing your time at a fraction of the cost, so that instead of having to hear no all the time, what we're doing is we're hearing yes all the time, because it's already been vetted and cleaned up. And we use a company called Likely.ai, and they go and they look at our database and they show us what our potential ROI is on the people we should be speaking with. Take that data, bring it over to a company called Clever Leads, spelled with a K. And then I have my VA, Karen, then reaches out via text, circle prospecting, emails, and geofencing. And we really start getting, it's like back, since we're in California, back when the gold rush was here, we would shake all the rock and dirt and everything else out, all the nuggets of gold would fall to the bottom. It's exactly what we're doing now. So we're just doing more digital door knocking versus physical door knocking, and the phone calls are highly selective in regards to knowing who like it up. So kind of really we're kind of.
I lost it. I'm losing it again. So I hope you can hear me. So you actually went from the ultimate of dialing with your finger to dialing with the internet, more or less, and doing business that way. So you've gone from prospecting, getting no's, to prospecting, getting yes. How does that transition happen? I know you're using AI and you're using all the predictive analytics, I imagine. But how does it work to you? So let's start from the prospecting end of it, the calling. Did you know how many calls you had to make to get a lead, to get a appointment, to get a closing? Did you know those metrics? Is that something you worked through?
Yeah, so we know everything happens in a cycle, and not everything's going to happen on a daily basis. So that I knew that if I put in the 500, 700, just 750 calls per day, my biggest calling day was 1,131 phone calls in one day. I went home and drank a beer and watched paint dry. I was drained, and I do not recommend that, by the way.
Yeah.
But we do know for our doors that we know every hour is 25 doors. We know for calls, about every 50 calls or outbound reaches, we would get a positive conversation. And about every 10 to 15 of those conversations, we would get a lead. And so that I knew that if I sat down and just ground it out, I would be able to put food on the table, clothes on my back, and be able to build a life. And was it easy? Heck no. It was very hard, and it was very unfun and very unsexy, believe me. And sometimes you're going to smash your head into the desk. But once you start seeing the numbers, and that's why the spreadsheet was so powerful, because I could look at how many hours I was on the phone every day, how many people I spoke to, what kind of leads I got on those calls, how many people I didn't talk to, how many referrals I could give out and pass out to our referral partners. So it really started coming to life. And then we took our those same spreadsheets and we put them into a mapping program. And then we were able to lay over the different years into this system, and we're able to see like a living beast what our marketplace was doing, who was selling where, what years, their frequencies, and then we could then really go after our door knocking as well. So if we knew that on the west side it was more active or the east side was more active, well, we'd spend time over there. Then we would select a just sold or just pending or just listed property in those marketplaces, and then be able to speak to those neighbors who have a want, need, or a desire to actually do something. So we're not going shotgun, we're going laser, and we're being able to have the positive conversations that people actually want to have with you, not just the conversations you want to have because you feel good about being busy and not being productive. So yeah, we really ran our numbers down. My father's been a huge proponent of numbers, and we really kind of run off that.
So you really knew what was going to happen, when you're going to happen, and when it was going to happen. So you knew a good idea of when the door knocking, where the door knocking was going to happen, and where it was going to work. So yeah. You start taking that and you transition that more to the technical edge of it, the digital end of it, and you change your prospecting methods. So, but before we get to that real quickly, I mean, people are saying to themselves, how the hell does this guy do 500 calls a day? They're having trouble making 50, 100. The people I work with, I tell them they got to make between 2 and 250 a day, right? They've got to connect. They've got to make, 2 to 250 contacts a day, right? If they can. But that's also, using Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all the different avenues there and channels. How did you commit to that? I mean, you needed the ultimate of commitment. Now, it was making money. It was there, but you did it, right? Mm-hmm. Was there an underlying commitment to it that you had to achieve certain things? What drove you is what I'm looking for.
I had a girlfriend back in the day. Not that I don't have one now, but the woman that I'm not going to call her a woman because she doesn't deserve that title. The human that I was dating at that time, she and I broke up, and she told me point blank, Greg, you don't make enough money for me. And that pissed me off so bad. It put the fire in my rear end. And so I sat down and I said, I will never freaking have that be told to me ever freaking again. And so I sat there, and every time I didn't want to do it, I heard her voice, going, you don't make enough money for me. And then, you know what? I'm like, okay, copy that. I don't do that right now, but I sure as shit won't ever let that happen again. And so that really burned me. And so then I just crushed it out, and I didn't allow anything to get in my way. Like, it's when you make a decision, like if you're going to make a decision to take your next breath, what's going to stop you from taking that next breath? Probably nothing, because you want that next breath so bad so you can continue living. That's the exact commitment that I had. There was no discussion involved. I mean, I was up at 3:00 in the morning. I was hitting the gym by 3:30 to 4. I was out of the gym by 5, 5:30. I was in the shower, cleaned up, in the office by 6:30 in the morning. I was always the one turning on the lights, always the one making the fresh pot of coffee. By 7:30, I was on the phones, and I was crushing out the calls. I would run at a 250 phone calls, per run. I would load them in, and then I would take a break, and I would go, go get lunch, go for a walk, go for a car drive, just, clear my brain, respond to different, response calls. Then I come back, sit back down, because I had nothing else to do. I literally had nothing else to do. So why not, right? And so then I sat back down, and I'd drive another 250 to 400 phone calls in the afternoon. And that was just those were my days when I was just getting started. And it's not that people can't do it, people won't do it because they're afraid of the rejection, but the rejection is only in their head, because there's a 97% chance that people, when it comes to doing the calls, 97% of people are not going to want to do anything. You are an unsolicited, unknown person getting on the phone with them. So only 3% of the time, national averages speaking.
Oh, shit. Froze there.
Can't just sit there and love. A great book called Go for No. Are you familiar with that one?
I am. I have it. Yep.
So I read that book, and if you guys haven't read the book Go for No, go get that book immediately, because you're going to see yourself. I saw myself as the star character, and it just drove me banana cakes on how lackadaisical that human being was. But when you get to the very last page of this book, and it ties the whole thing together, you'll have a revelation. And I liked it so much, I actually called and I got the author on my podcast, got to interview her, and I asked her who the subject was for the main character. She says it was my husband. And I'm like, oh, so that's an awkward conversation. But that's kind of.
So you've been making the phone calls. You had the confidence to do it. You knew you had to do it. It was a relationship product. So then we're going digital. You're making the change. You're making a process. Did you know you were going to make a change completely over to digital from the phone calls and the door knocking? And how did that happen? And why did it happen?
Sure. Great question. I appreciate that question. When Facebook originally came out with Facebook Live, I literally apologized to all my friends and family. I said, guys, when this comes live and I have access to it, you're going to see me more than you've ever seen me before. And then as soon as I had access, boom, I was like a kid on a cupcake. I was all over it. And I just ran with it. And I just love the responses, because once you started getting, I didn't get a lot of responses when I first started, but then stories came out. And so I did videos about everything. I mean, if I was walking on a trail, I would Google search it and talk about the trail. If I was, at a store, I would talk to the store owner. If I was doing anything, I would just go live at any moment I possibly could. If I was at a dog park, I would go live about the dog park. I did these videos every day, and I started ranking on Google really fast. I took up the first 3 pages of Google for real estate with my name in my area for quite a while. And then when stories came out, what I started to do, and also what I did with my posts, is that every time someone had a comment or a like, I would reach back out to them and I would say, hey, thanks so much for liking, or thanks for the comment, or I'd interact with them in some sort of way or shape or form. And now what I'm doing is with the digital door knocking is that I try to do at least 2 posts a day on Instagram and Facebook stories. And it's going to be one personal and one professional. So my girlfriend got a dog, and so I've been posting, walking the dog chasing a ball, whatever, right? Hikes. So I do one of those, and I do something funny about real estate on a daily basis, so that people know, 1, I can connect with them on the dog, and then 2, I can connect with them on real estate, so they don't think that I'm just out always, I didn't become a professional dog walker.
Right.
But the ability to reach people doing that is 100% free. There's a company that I use called Ghost Poster, and they send me an email every single morning, I think at 4:00 in the morning, and it's some sort of funny real estate stat or real estate, photo. And I post that up with my little commentary as well. And with that being said, that's how I've transitioned. Did I see it coming? Yes. Was I ready for it? Yes. And the reason why is I've never met a microphone or a camera that I didn't like, and they didn't like me, because I've always wanted to be in front of a microphone on a consistent basis. So this was a natural transition. A lot of folks who might be a little shy about this might be like, this guy's crazy.
Right.
Just, you have to understand, if you think you have a face for radio and you think your voice is horrible, look, you have friends, you have family, you have a spouse, a significant other, you have children, neighbors, that all know, like, and love and trust you. They already know what you look like. They already know what you sound like. It doesn't matter. Just bring value in the biggest possible way that you can on a daily basis, and allow people to to gravitate towards you. Once you start doing that, you'll see the fact that there's no difference between doing a phone call or a door knock or an Instagram or Facebook post or a TikTok or anything else. I mean, it's just a different model. That's all.
Right. So you go from prospecting with the phone, you're doing live broadcast, you're doing video. Like, for instance, for me, I started doing video probably 13, 14 years ago, something like that. And I remember to this day, actually, I work really closely with this guy now. And I remember friends saying to me, I saw your video this morning, because it was before live, right? I would do that. And they'd kind of like chuckle, right? And I looked at him and I'd say, yeah, but you watched it, didn't you? And they did, right? So people all over the place, know you, and you don't know that they know you. And that's one thing about video. It gives you an omnipresence of second to none. And it also gives you a parasocial relationship with a lot of people out there that you don't know, but they know you. I'll give you a for instance on this, and this is a really powerful story. Last week I went out. I went to open houses. My girlfriend and I like to go to open houses. I went to an open house. I see the name on the sign. I've never met this person in person. I've known him for over 20 years. We've talked on the phone a couple of times, back and forth with transactions. I walk in, and there he is, Dave Finale, live in person. It's like we've known each other as best friends for years. We talked like we knew each other, saw each other every day. It was a parasocial relationship that was built because of my outwardness. What do you call that? I forget. Extroversion, right? Extrovert, right? And he consumed it. And people are going to do that whether you like it or not. No one's going to laugh at you unless you try to do something funny. And if you mess it up, who gives a shit?
Who gives a shit? Exactly right. It was probably a year and a half, 2 years ago now. My girlfriend and I we're in San Francisco, where I'm sitting currently, and we're walking this open house. And we do what we call wine walks, and we have our little, our two little, not this, but a little to-go cup with our wine in it. We're walking on Sunday afternoons and everything else, and we walk into this open house. And this guy's the agent just eyeballing me, and I'm like, what is going on? Like, my girl? She looks at me. She's like, do you know him? I'm like, no, I don't know. No. And he comes up and he goes, you're Greg McDaniel, aren't you? I said, yes, I am. He's like, I watch all the stuff you put out there. And I'm like, oh, dude, what's up? How are you? Good to see you. I had another guy in a bank literally chase me down. And he goes, hey, you're Greg McDaniel. Hey. I'm like, hi. What can I do for you? And again, hey man, I've been following all of this like you've been doing for years, and so on and so forth. And it's an honoring moment to meet individuals like that, because you're like, I've made an impact in your life in some positive way, and I am honored to spend time hanging out with you. And there's a lot of podcast hosts that, obviously, Dave, you're not one of them, that when they get approached, they get offended. They're like, oh, I want my privacy. I'm like, well, then what the are you doing a podcast? I mean, freaking nuts.
It's that's how we get known. I mean, there's a book,
yeah.
I can't remember the name of the guy that wrote it, called Known, right? And it's just like things you've got to do to go out there. It's a great book. And I recommend it to a lot of people that I work with. But all right. So we've talked about, this thing called video, which is really, really important. And we've done it. We both do it live all the time. Matter of fact, I'm in the middle, not in the middle yet. 90 days of value. We're all, a few buddies of mine and I have this challenge. Got to do a video every day. Not a challenge for most of us, but some of us don't do it every day. Like I really never did a lot of stuff on weekends, but now I've got to do it because it's going to cost us money if we miss a day, right? We've got to send a check to someone we don't like for thousands of dollars, right? So that's the penalty, and there's a bunch of us doing it. No one has missed. It's 25 days so far. Nobody's missed. I don't think anybody's going to, So, but it works. So all right. So let's get back to the digital marketing, the prospecting and stuff. So you said that you did live and you do story. You're doing a couple of stories a day. Are the stories the ones the piece of the just a piece of it, or is that all the video you're doing, and are you doing more than just that?
So I'm shooting videos for my YouTube channel. I'm switching production companies right now because my last production company, we had a falling out because of a lot of different issues, but because they weren't doing a really good job. So I'm switching over to this new company, and I'm going to do hyper local specific content. So I'm going to, go with keywords and tags, and you can go into YouTube, you can search and through the filter where the most viewed videos are. You can grab all those keywords and video tags. It'll help you leapfrog over, use the same terminology in the titles, the whole thing. But I'm shooting that, and the reason why I'm shooting a lot of YouTube videos now is because those are living business cards. They don't go anywhere. People go to YouTube knowing they're going to watch long form content. And then it's an opportunity that I go out and I don't go to StreamYard. I go to Groupon and I look for the local businesses that have ads on Groupon. Then I'll Google that business. I'll call them, because what Groupon does, those sneaky little SOBs, is they charge a butt ton for just the ad. And then they take up to 50% of the proceeds from the people that come through that portal. So I reach out to them. I say, hey, look, Dave at Dave's Bikes, hey, I see you're doing a 50% off on a tune-up. Can I offer that to my database and push it out through my portals? All I want is the offer. I don't want any of your back-end profit. I've had a 100% success rate with that, because you're helping a local business person not get raked over the coals. You're giving a value, to your people, and you're staying relevant with local folks. So that's one strategy I have there. But one of the biggest things that I'm experimenting with right now is the stories. And there's some people that go really heavy on them and talk about, everything they do in a day. I try to do 1 to 3 to 4 stories a day, because I see a steady decrease in views. And then I reach out to the folks and I just say, hey, thanks for watching my crazy video. How's your day? Or something along those lines. And I get the dialogue going, because then the algorithm on these sites know that we're interacting. Therefore, my stuff is served up to these individuals on a higher frequency basis. Therefore, I build a deeper relationship with them, and I can have those real conversations like, hey, thanks for watching. I have a question. Are you guys thinking about maybe taking advantage of these prices and maybe buying or selling in today's market? And you get that conversation going. And that's as simple as it is. It'll take you quite literally 30 to 50 seconds per day, maybe 5 minutes if you really want to get crazy with your stories. But then it's just the follow-ups, and you're sitting on the couch at night at the end of the day, let the day go through, right? So you have all these people to follow up with. Then experiment with content, like what gets the most views, what doesn't get views. If you talk about real estate all the time, I will guarantee you hands down $50 bet right now. If you only talk about real estate, you're gonna have a very small following. But if you talk about your dog, your significant other, your garden, your community, your local businesses, crazy stuff you see when you're driving, people are going to interact, because all of a sudden you become interesting. You're now like a reality TV show, but you always stay professional. That's where the real thing changes. If you get political, if you talk about religion, if you talk about sex, if you talk about any kind of the outlying conversation topics, that you're running a thin line on that one, and I'd probably step away from that. But again, everyone's at your own business, and you choose what you want to do. But I'll tell you right now, we're seeing tremendous responses, and the visibility grows if you're consistently doing it. People know when to show up, like Dave with your show, right? You put your show out on a consistent basis. Am I wrong?
Nope, not at all. Not wrong at all. And you're froze.
So people know when to consume your content, correct?
Right. 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 Yes.
So same thing for posting, same thing for live video, same thing for stories. If you show people when to show up, like I will be here at this time. It's like going on a first date. If you're going to go on a first date with somebody and you say, let's go on a first date. Great. When? I don't know. Just go by, I don't know. We'll just change it around and we'll see what happens. Or if you say, hey, it's going to be Friday night at 7:30 at, ABC restaurant. I'll see you then. Great. Someone now has a date and a time and a location to show up to. Same exact thing for content creation. Same thing for door knocking. Same thing for videos. All of it has to be, told to people because people only know what they're told. That's why we listen to news broadcasters. I've never met any of the news broadcasters that, sometimes I see on TV, but guess what? They show up every night at 6. So,
right. So, all right. So is there, what the obvious question coming through that for anybody that watches this or thinks about doing this is there a better time? Is there a good time? Is there a bad time? What's the time to do it? For instance, I do a lot of my stuff. I do videos early in the morning. I'll do broadcasts throughout the day. I'll do maybe one a day or whatever, but I'm doing this show always 11 Eastern on Fridays. But is there a better time? Is it night? Is it morning? When is it?
Well, for when I do my, which I'm going to restart my show. It's called Beers and Calls. When I drink a beer and I do live prospecting calls on my Facebook page. I do it from 4:30 to 5:30. I do it for that time in the afternoons, and I know that works best for both East Coast and West Coast. Because East Coast, you guys, it's like 7:30 for you, so people are kind of winding down from dinner and they can sit there and relax and laugh with me. And then here on the West Coast, we're winding down our business day at 4:30, so they can take a break, maybe get some inspiration or ideas or whatever else, and then go out and hit the calls themselves or do calls live with me. So for that frame, really works the best. For prospecting, what I found for door knocking and calling, it used to be all day would be good. And that has radically shifted. Well, now with COVID, everybody's home, so that actually is a different story. But right. Normally speaking, what we found is that from 11 to 1 is a good time to go door knocking and calling. And the reason why are people are coming home for lunch or something along those lines, or mom or dad or whoever's at the house has gotten done with their workout, gotten ready for the day, and they're at the house and ready to talk. And then anywhere from 3 to 6 in the afternoon, because from 3 to 6, that's when kids are coming home from school. When they went to school, I think they're going back to school now, but they're coming back into the house. Mom and dad are getting back from work. And if you call past 6, then you're getting into dinner time. You get into dinner time, then you really get your ass handed to you because you're really ticking off the family and they don't want to talk to anybody. But up until about that time, I go to about 5:30. You're still in that gray zone of acceptability and just respect the people's times. But those are the time frames that we operate in and have been very successful for us. Okay,
so we talked about the old style phone calling, door knocking. We've talked about video and doing your beers and calls. Let's talk about, you mentioned earlier text messaging. You talked about, we had a conversation. We talked a little bit about cold text messaging. Talk to me how you do that and how that's worked for you.
Shit, man. When I first started doing it, I thought it was the biggest joke on earth. Believe me on that one. But I connected with this company called Clever Leads, again, spelled with a K. And Jake Wolf, who's the owner of that, he and I connected through my brother, Brad, who owns Likely.ai. And Jake one night, he's an old veteran guy, right? Not old. If I say he's old, he's going to shoot me in the face. But he's a veteran. Yeah, he probably would. But he's like, hey, Greg, want to put some bullets downrange? And I'm like, what the shit does that mean? He's like, do you want to get leads? I'm like, oh, yeah. I like leads. Yeah. And so what we did is we took 126 expireds. We load them into Clever Leads. And of course, we're DNC compliant. So anyone who on the do not call list, we don't message them. There's no reason to muss or fuss with that. And then we built a custom sequential follow-up script. So, we have then I think it's like a minute later, another message, then a minute later, another message, and then 5 minutes, another message, and then 2 days later, a message, and then 2 weeks later, another message. And the last message 2 weeks later is literally a period. That's it. And it's called a drip cap. And I thought it was the dumbest thing. I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. And so we sent out this 126 blast via text. And I was talking within maybe seconds, but definitely within a minute or less, I was already in conversation. And so out of the 126, I had actual conversations with 55 of those. And out of those 55, I was able to procure $1.8 million listing without ever meeting the sellers based upon the conversation and verbiage that we put into these drip follow-ups. And the thing is that if they interact with that text campaign, the rest of the other drips shut off. So there's no awkward conversations. And then it's at that point, it was up to me at that point, but now it's up to my VA, who sends out texts every single day to continue the conversation. And she has a spreadsheet with all of her notes and everything else so that she is in charge of not just getting the leads and having the conversations, but putting the appointments on my calendar. I don't want to dick around with anything else. Just put the appointments on my calendar. Don't ask me about it. You have access to it. Book them. So she books them. And then my job is literally to show up and not kick them in the shins and, call them ugly and see how I can do to help them. So text messaging for us has really exposed and exploded our line of business and our funnel. And it's sifting for gold. It's just shaking that stuff, getting rid of the rocks and the dirt and all the other stuff that's not important, just dropping those nuggets of gold right into your inbox. And the calls go like this. Hi, is this David? Yeah, this is David. Hey, David. I think you talked to my personal assistant, Karen. Oh, yeah, we talked to Karen. Hey, Karen told me that you guys are thinking about selling. Is that true? Yeah, it is true. Sweet. I have you on the books for Thursday at 3. Is that still going to work for you? Yeah, totally, man. I look forward to meeting you. What's the market like? And so those conversations are positive. They're uplifting. You don't have to deal with all the FUs, get out of here's, the hang-ups, the door slams. It's just positive energy that comes your direction. It's quite nice, I got to tell you.
So what is the message that goes out in the text?
It's a completely customized. Nothing's going to be kind of a script. It's going to be structured on how you want to present yourself. And it's going to be just listed, just sold, just pending. I have a buyer. And by the way, if you say you have a buyer for that area, you better stink and have a buyer. Never lie about that, ever. Right. And you build them like down to the colors, the fonts, how you want your landing page to look. I mean, everything is 100% customizable, and I do mean 100%. So there's no standard. It's just whatever you want to do.
That's really cool. So talk to me about. Let's get into something that I am really, really interested in, and geofencing. So sure. You have mentioned that earlier. And I mentioned earlier before we went live that I've had great conversation with Jake Wolf the past week about systems and tools and stuff that he uses with Clever Leads, which you've spoken about several times already today, and geofencing. People, I've known about geofencing. I know that, years ago I would target, like for instance, for coaching business, I targeted the NAR convention. I targeted that address through Facebook, right? Got me some business. It worked nicely. Can't really do it as well anymore, right? So why is geofencing something that's going to work, and how is it going to work?
Okay, so geofencing, for everyone who's never heard this term before, and by the way, if you haven't, you're totally a problem. I'm just an aggressive, tech dork, and I just wanted to search this out a number of years ago. Dave, sounds like you and I are living this life. Geofencing is an electronic invisible fence that you can put around any geographic location. So it could be a house, a neighborhood, a block, a business, a competitor's, training program, like Dave, like you talked about, or a competitor's, brand or business. And then you can have different types of messages. Either you can target the business, the geographic location, the people inside, or you can target the people. believe it, who are not known to live there. So it depends on kind of what message you want to send. For instance, if you were to geofence, let's say you have a 3-bed, 2-bath on the west side of town, and it's for $500,000, very generic numbers, right?
Right.
Well, we're going to go to the MLS. We're going to find every single 3-bed, 2-bath that's in your general vicinity. And then on Sundays with open houses, drop a geofence around your competitors' properties and say, hey, Dave, if you like the property at 123 Main Street, you're going to love our listing at 456 Maple. We're going to be here until 4 o'clock today. Come on over, and we have a special gift for you when you get here. So you can extract out all the people that are going to other properties and drive them directly to you. But then you also get to harvest their smart device IDs. Now you take a smart device ID, and this is the creepy part about it. When they take that thing home, it's then cross-pollinate with all the other smart devices. So now, if I have my iPhone here, whoops, sorry for hitting the mic, and then I come home and my girlfriend, we have 2 smart TVs. She has a laptop, 2 laptops, and her phone. Well, guess what? My phone's going to talk to all the other smart devices, and now we can start showing ads on all the other devices. So you went from going from one to many, and all you did is drop a very inexpensive ad using your geofencing. And so when I thought about this, I'm like, okay. So I gave Jake a budget, and we went after 1,414 different properties. We built our landing pages, our follow-up sequences, and the whole thing. 811 of those 1,400 people came and hit my landing page, which then immediately means that I own their information for life. They can never get away from me. I can hit them on every single digital surface known to man. And it is literally the easiest thing, probably one of the cheapest costs per action that I've ever experienced. And with the geofence, you can send any message at any time to any device, and you can use it for multiple different reasons. So I highly recommend you guys look into it. I guarantee your competitors are not using it. Absolutely not using it.
So it goes to other devices. Is it going on other devices by notifications? Is it doing it by text message, emails? How is it hitting a device? You're talking about smart TVs as well. Talk to me about that, how that works.
So what they're doing is they're going and they're buying ad space. And so let's say you like Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, and I don't know, pick alphabet.com, right? Whatever it's going to be. Well, whatever your preferred websites are, we know when you're on them, and when you get on them, then we can start pushing ads directly over to you. So Hulu or any of those other organizations, they're buying ads at a fraction of a second. So as soon as they know that Dave's watching whatever show you like on Hulu.com, well, great. Now we're going to serve up ads to you there. Then we're going to serve up ads to you on your computer. Then we're going to serve up ads to you on your phone. So if you're on Facebook, if you're on Netflix, if you're on whatever, we will know when you're there, and we'll only serve you ads at that time. We're also starting to do a TV commercials, which I am ecstatic about, because these things, don't quote me on the prices. I think it's like 50 or 60 bucks, and you get 1,000 TV commercials that push out to all the smart TVs that everybody's buying. With the pandemic, everybody's went out and bought a brand new TV with their stimulus checks and everything else. What are you going to do? You're going to sit at home and Netflix it all day long, right? You can't go to work, can't go outside, can't do shit. So guess what? When you're on there, we know it, and we'll send up TV commercials to you. And the thing is that you don't have to do anything. Literally, they're all produced for you. All you have to do is show up and do like this. and then that gets put in, and then these things run. So if you're hitting them on their tablets, their smartphones, their TVs, their TV commercials, phone calls, text messages, and everything else, I mean, honestly, you cannot get away from that. You just can't.
Amazing, absolutely amazing. How is that going to change your business, and how has it changed your business?
Visibility immediately. like we talked about earlier, it's going to be one of those things that's really going to allow you to be the mayor of your town, because you now you have the ability to have the open conversations to be like, oh my God, Dave? Yeah. Hey, it's Greg. Dude, I've been seeing you everywhere, man. I saw you on my that great TV commercial you did the other day. Oh, thanks, man. How's life? What can I do for you? Oh my gosh, life's great. Yada yada yakety schmack. Small talk. Well, you know what? My wife and I were thinking about maybe making a move, and I don't know. Do you even work in my neighborhood? Of course I do. Oh, okay. Well, could we meet? I would love to. When would work? What would work best for you? So it's no longer a cold prospect. It's a warm contact. Like you said, it's like having a friend or a family member that you know, contact and be like, hey, how's life? They know you just as much as you might not know them. But when you're that visible, people like my dad, he's been doing real estate for 50 years, literally, I think 50 or 52 years. And I always joke with him like, Dad, all you have to do is go down to Starbucks, sit there, drink a cup of coffee, and people will come to you. It's absolutely astonishing how well he's known in the area. And like, he goes to his golf club, he's surrounded by guys all day long asking about real estate. And it's just because he has been extremely visible. Like back in the day, we have Safeway, that's our supermarket here.
Right.
And in Safeway, he bought all the ads on the top of the ceiling that you could see from the back of the store. Now, we never, ever, ever, ever bought the ads on the shopping carts, but everybody knew Terry McDaniel's name, and they always say, I see you on the shopping carts all the time. It's just visibility. That's how it's going to shift, because you can do it at a much cheaper cost on a bigger platform. Right.
So I just want just to synopsize this thought process of commercials, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not being shown to everybody. It's just being shown to the ones you've connected with and gotten their IDs. And just like a pixel on Facebook, just so anybody knows how that works, this is the same. This is similar. So people that have not connected with you either on a landing page or whatever are not seeing your stuff. It's just these individual people. So this is retargeting and remarketing to the highest level.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. You're not wasting time or energy or money. You're just going after the people that already kind of know you. And so when you put more people into your database and you have more conversations, then they see you more and more. Because a lot of times people think real estate agents are kind of like movie stars. They think they make $1 billion a year. You eat caviar, drink champagne for lunch, you drive your Lamborghini, and you wear your $3,000 suit every single day. When in reality, dude, we are stressed out. We're up late. We're on phone calls all the time. Our spouse barely even gets to talk to us because we're always trying to negotiate a deal. Our hair is going white because we're freaking out over contracts and deals and cash. We eat at our desk. Oh yeah, brother. Trust me, I got. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I see it.
And so you have to let them know that you're still around. I had a past client of mine the other day, like 2 months ago. I got in a conversation with them. I'm like, "What's new?" They're like, "Oh, we sold our house." What? Why didn't you call me? Oh, well, we didn't think you did real estate anymore because we just see you doing podcasts and all this other stuff. We didn't think you actually sold homes anymore. And the reason I tell that story is because I became irrelevant to them because of my own fault. So that's why I jumped in with the Ghost Poster, and I post a lot more about real estate, and I engage with people talking about the market, and I use different, go to car.org and get some of their infographics so you can post those on your Instagram and Facebook stories. But I realized, like, holy shit, like I became irrelevant. I didn't even try to, but I did. And so that's what I'm saying. Don't do that, guys. Make sure you're in constant conversations with these people on all these different digital platforms. Talk 80% personal, 20%, business, and just get into conversation. That's it. And your business will flow. Just give it a little bit of time.
So I want to talk two more quick topics. And one is your podcast, Real Estate Uncensored. Talk to me about how that originated. You're on a lot. Talk to me about that podcast. Who should watch it, what it's for, how it works?
So the origination of that podcast, and I appreciate the question, is my co-host, Matt Johnson, and I started that show almost ago, and we wanted to. I was in my office. My dog just creeped up on me, freaked me out. Sorry. And I walked outside and I was listening to people talk, and I'm like, gosh, these agents really don't have a grasp on kind of how to do some stuff. And so I reached out to Matt and I said, Matt, we should start a podcast. Do you want to be a co-host with me? He said, absolutely. Little did I know that he actually was going to ask me the next week to do a podcast as well. And so we got on there and we just started just dropping hammer on training. So if you want to go back and watch it, if you don't mind a few blue streaks, because I do curse a lot on it. And Matt and I make fun of each other. We have a good time. We have another co-host, Gene Volpe. We call him the Evil Bald Ninja, who's a marketer. So if you want to learn about marketing, you can go to the Marketing Roundtable with Real Estate Uncensored every Wednesday, or the original show on Fridays. And just sit there and learn. We have great guests on. We got a guy named Jay Samet, who is like the man behind the man. Like this guy has his fingers in like insane stuff. I'll tell you some of the stories offline, Dave. Sure. But I mean, it's just you go there and learn, guys. Meet some incredible human beings that who have incredible information. It's not a pitch zone. We're not selling stuff. It is a pure information zone, and we just want to give the real knowledge without charging anybody for it. Just saying, hey, look, we're going to give back to this community. We're going to give back to this industry. And just like your show, Dave, both of us were the top rated shows in the industry right now. And we just want to continually give. And if you guys ever have a good guest idea for me, please reach out to me. Love to get people on.
It's interesting. The reason you did it is the kind of same reason I did it. I saw someone doing this almost 3 years ago, and they weren't doing a good job. What they weren't doing is people got used to them being on at a certain time. You go online and say, well, I'm not going to be on tonight or whatever. And, there's not that I do a lot of promo for this, but, I decided that I could do it better. And the reason to do it was to give value back to real estate agents, even if it's a little nugget here and there. Our conversation today has been a little bit all over the place, but it's all been about prospecting. It's all been about building business. If you really look at everything we've talked about, right? And that's what I want to do is just help people. And I want to do it with people that are interested. And, there won't be a lot of people that watch this like live now, but there will be a lot of people that watch it during the week. We'll rebroadcast segments of it, right? So it goes really well. And I do give out the value, just a piece of me giving back value, right? And it was just, let's just do it. Let's do it the right way. Show up. And always do it. I tried to do some funny things. I did it by myself most of the time in the beginning, but I've been very lucky. I've had Glenn Sanford, Jake Kinder, Michael Reese last week, John Cheplack. I've had Tom Ferry, not Mike, but I've had a lot of people. Tim Harris, Michael Hellickson, lots of guys. I mean, these guys are they're not small guys, right? But I've also had the single agent from my area. I've had agents from all over the country. And it's been fun to do because I'm giving back to people so they understand that, everybody's got similar problems, and here's a way that they handled it and made it work for them. When someone hears that you made 500,000 freaking cold calls, it's like, holy shit, either this guy is really out of his mind or he was just committed. I like to use the word committed, actually. I know we're both out of our minds, but that's beside the point, right?
Yeah.
But I know over the years that you started. Tell me just really quickly, how many companies have you been with as you went through your real estate career?
3.
You broke up there for a second. Sorry. You there?
Yep. Now you're back. Say it again.
Yeah. How many real estate companies have you been with? And why are you where you are now?
Sure. So we've been with 1, 2, 3. This is our 4th company we've been with. And we made the move to our current company because it just made the most sense.
Right.
It allows me to work from home.
Right.
I get to work barefoot, and when I have to go on camera and talk to a client and put a dress shirt on, then take it off, put my hoodie on and my baseball hat back on, and call it a day. It's just a great company, and they're really tech heavy. So it's a really easy way to communicate with them. And it's literally one of the only companies that I've ever been around that legitimately wants me to succeed. Like, they honestly take like pride in helping their agents succeed. And I was like, wow, that's something I've never seen before. Because our company before, the only time the owner would come around is when someone was in deep shit. And then he would prance around the office, kind of hobnob a little bit, and then tell everyone that we're family. I'm like, get the you-know-what out of here. We're not family. You're like an abusive father. Yeah. I mean, that's not cool. So we shifted, and man, they hated us for that one, but whatever.
Right. So, you broke up a lot there. Greg is with eXp Realty as I am. And one of the things that I've seen, the collaborative effect, is everybody does the transaction the same way, right? You're still going to fill out the form. You're still going to make the submission. Mm-hmm. You're still going to make an offer. You're still going to negotiate. The collaborative effect and having everybody want you to do really well, right? And that's the difference. I wanted to mention that because it is important. It is important as our business evolves into a lot of different things. There's, bricks and mortar, all the great franchises are out there. I was a Century 21 franchisee. I know how Century 21 works in the realty companies. I had great experiences there. I cannot say anything negative about it. I was very lucky being 30 minutes away from corporate headquarters, so I could actually interact with the president. Every president that I was there, when I was there, I could say I was friends with, right? And to this day, I still communicate with a couple of them. But anyway, Greg, I want to thank you so much for your time. There are two things left to do on this broadcast that we finish every broadcast up with. The first one is a question. And that question is, Greg, how can I help you grow your business?
Let's stay in communication, become deeper friends, and then expand on that, and pass guests back and forth to each other's shows, and then obviously work on an opportunity to do something in regards to maybe some real estate referrals if I have people going like that.
Absolutely.
That's what everything is built on, is relationships.
Absolutely, and thank you for that. Now, the end. Now, I do realize that the reason you did come on, you were supposed to come on a couple of weeks ago. We had some technical problems then too, and you're here. But you realize that you get a hat if you came on the broadcast. So I had to make sure you get a hat if you're on the broadcast. So I'm going to have to send this hat to you. You got to stay on to give me the address. But you know what? You might have to send something back. I don't know what you got there, but But everybody's on a broadcast gets a real estate skill builder hat. This one's coming out to you. Greg, how do people get in touch with you if they want to talk to you?
Guys, I would be honored to talk to anybody. The easiest way would be to go follow me on Instagram or Facebook. It's very easy. Instagram is Greg McDaniel, REU, for Real Estate Uncensored. And then, of course, go to Facebook, look for the white guy with the giant microphone stuck in the middle of my face. Greg McDaniel there. Send me a message. Love to interact. Or if you're old school and you want to do a text, shoot me a text or a phone call. 925-915-1978. That's the easiest ways to get a hold of me, Dave. Appreciate it, man.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Great. So, Greg, thanks so much for your time on the phone. We'll just stay on for a second. Everybody, thank you for your patience and waiting out with us where we had some technical problems. We're going to see you next week. Next week, we have Eric Sachs from Breakthrough Brokers going to be on with us. Another great guy. We got some great people coming up. Greg, thanks again. We'll see you in a couple of minutes. And as soon as I can get back to what I'm doing, we're going to do this. Thanks so much, man. See you soon.
All right. Thanks, brother. Thanks. Bye. So...